Hearing the joy in the German sniper's laugh, the raw, violent delight he felt when his bullet struck home. Sometimes he would shout something, a phrase my grandfather couldn't understand but had translated later on. Mehr weinende Kinder. More crying children. That sniper had my grandfather's platoon pinned down for about 6 full hours, but to him it felt like days. They had to just lie there, perfectly still, as the dead, open eyes of their fallen comrades stared at them, looks of shock and horror on their lifeless faces. At one point, the sniper, unable to spy any living targets through his high-powered scope, began to fire upon the dead in an attempt to break the platoon psychologically. My grandfather told me the entire platoon winced in disgust and terror as a bullet smashed into a dead man's skull. He had bled out leaning up against a tree and was evidently still well within the sniper's sights. Of all the wounds and injuries my grandfather saw during the war, he told me head wounds were always the worst. Once the structural integrity of the human skull is compromised, be it by bullet or shrapnel, or from the blunt force of a rifle butt, a person's face changes shape. The first bullet that hit the dead man's skull practically split it in two, right down the middle. But nothing I can write will outdo the exact horrific manner in which my grandfather described it. I'd known that guy for months. I could recognize him in the dark, just from his gait. But now, I didn't recognize him at all. His eyes way too far apart. He looked inhuman. But the sniper didn't stop there. He laughed and laughed and laughed as he sent 2 bullets, then 3, then 4 sailing into the dead man's skull, pulverizing it until it was just a mess of broken bone and leaking brain matter. Eyeballs, still connected by the optical nerve, dangled from shattered eye sockets. I can't even imagine how traumatic that must have been for a kid who was barely 18 years old. I mean, he was still a kid, a child. I think back to when I was 18, I could barely handle seeing a paper cut, let alone seeing someone's entire head explode. His platoon had to wait until nightfall to escape. They did so as barks of "Feiglinge, Feiglinge" echoed through the trees. Cowards, cowards, the German sniper called them, in between volleys of that perverted, manic laughter.